What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Pistons Daily, where you can find daily content covering all things Detroit Pistons, Monday through Friday. As always, I am your host. My name is Kyle Garrison. I'm over on Twitter at Kyle Garrison2, where I talk all things Detroit sports. So head over there, give me comments, questions, concerns, episode ideas. I'd love to hear from all you guys. Also, shout out to everyone who tunes in every single day. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers, so if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way to help support the channel. With that being said, let's jump into a Friday edition of Pistons Daily. So as always, first things first, our skill of the day. And I wanted to just touch on Duncan Robinson, increased offensive role, increased usage rate, assist percentage, and just kind of the improvements that he's made overall as an offensive player in this league. And obviously, we know Duncan Robinson as an unbelievable lights-out, spot-up movement shooter. But for somebody who kind of predicates themselves on that, his usage rate is extremely high. I was not expecting this, but throughout his career, it has gone up immensely. He was a 12.7 usage rate guy his rookie year, which was in the 13th percentile. And last year, he was an 18.5% usage rate with in the 71st percentile amongst qualified wings. And that's just very encouraging because, again, like I mentioned, he's looked at as a guy who is really just a one-dimensional offensive player, can really only shoot. He can move off ball. He can come off ball screens, catch and shoot. But when you actually dive into his advanced stats, he's a very good facilitator. He can operate with the ball in his hands. And I think this is going to be crucial for this Pistons team going forward because the Pistons have been adamant about finding secondary facilitators, secondary ball handlers next to Cade and Jaden Ivey. And I think Duncan is just a sneaky candidate to be really solid in the pick and roll as a main ball handler who can also thrive off ball. And that's what the Pistons need. They need versatility offensively. And I think Duncan Robinson really can bring that to the table. And more numbers to back that up. Again, his assist percentage in his rookie year was 5%, which is in the 8th percentile amongst wings. In 2023, that shot up to 15.2%, which was in the 78th percentile. And then in 2024, he dropped a little bit, but still 14.7 assist percentage, which is in the 71st percentile amongst wings. So when you're looking at just overall NBA players, and specifically NBA wings, Duncan Robinson is an above-average facilitator and an above-average ball handler, and that's very, very encouraging for, like I mentioned, a team that needs some secondary ball handlers and facilitators to really help run the show, take some pressure off of Cade and Jaden Ivey. And I think that Duncan Robinson is a very solid candidate because he's really just built his career being someone that coaches are forced to play because when he might seem like he's one-dimensional, he can kind of add something to his bag like passing, like the ability to operate the pick and roll as a main ball handler. We saw it with Bam Adebayo. It was incredible last year and in years prior as well. So I'm very, very excited just to see Duncan Robinson in this offense. Hopefully we get some significant run with him and Jalen Duren. I think that will help Jalen Duren's game. And just being able to space the floor overall, giving Cade and Jaden Ivey and Karis LeVert and these ball handlers an outlet when they're making drives down. He's in the right spots at the right time. He's a very smart offensive player. And I think that honestly speaks volumes to the fact that he's a good passer and a good ball handler because he has such a high basketball IQ. And that's something that he's just adapted to in the NBA, which is not easy. Going from a guy who is a 5% assist percentage to 14.7% in 5 years is unbelievable. And I do think that he's going to have a big impact on this Pistons offense this year. Hopefully they get back Malik Beasley because a tandem of Malik and Duncan on the floor at all times is very, very dangerous for this young and exciting Pistons team. But moving on, another topic I wanted to touch on is ESPN just dropped their NBA future power rankings, and they have the Pistons listed at 18. This is just a collection of NBA insiders, and I'll just read what they wrote about the Pistons. So this is Detroit's best finished here since 2017. And the Pistons arguably belong higher after Cade Cunningham emerged as an all-NBA anchor during a breakthrough fourth-year campaign. Detroit has cap flexibility to add around a young core of Cunningham, Jalen Duren, and Asar Thompson, and owns all its picks. Another season in the East top six should convince us to move the Pistons much higher next year. And I don't know why they need to see another playoff appearance from the Pistons to put them higher because when you're looking at this team, they're the 7th youngest team in the entire league. And They won 44 games last year. When you're looking at the other teams ahead of them when it comes to youth, it's the Trailblazers, the Jazz, the Nets, and the Wizards, who are all lottery teams last year. I expect them to all be lottery teams again this next year. The only other teams that are younger are the Grizzlies and the Thunder, and the Grizzlies are in a weird spot right now. Obviously, we know the Thunder are unbelievable. They're going to be another championship contender again, if not the favorite going into this year. So they're an anomaly when you're looking at these numbers, but the Grizzlies, like I mentioned, they're in a very weird spot. They just traded for a bunch of future draft capital, so they could be looking to retool, not necessarily rebuild, but retool in the loaded Western Conference. So I just think it's kind of disrespectful to have the Pistons at 18 when they're one of the youngest teams in the league, and you're telling me that they're going to be a below average team over the next 3 years, because that's the criteria of this list. They have it listed as the projection of the on-court success expected for each team over the next 3 NBA seasons. So you're telling me that the Pistons are going to be a below average team the next 3 years? That's just not going to be the case whatsoever. I mean, when you're looking at some of the teams above them, they have teams like the Pacers, the Heat, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Clippers, and the Celtics. And they're all good teams, don't get me wrong. But I mean, that's not the prompt. That's not the criteria of the list. In 3 years, those teams are all going to have some roster turnover. They're going to have players retire like James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry, LeBron James, and their championship windows are going to pass. They are all in very much win-now scenarios, and the Pistons are up with all of them. I mean, what are we talking about here with the Heat? The Miami Heat, they do not have a brighter future than the Pistons by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, maybe they have a better 1, 2, and 3 with Norman Powell, Tyler Hero, and Bam Adebayo. But again, I mean, you're looking at Cade Cunningham is significantly better than every single player on the Miami Heat, and he's younger than every single player that plays significant minutes for the Miami Heat. So I just think it's very weird because the 3 of the 5 Pistons young core pieces have yet to even sign their first extensions. You still have Jalen Duren, who's 21, Jaden Ivey, who's 22, Asar Thompson, who's 20. They all still are on their rookie deals right now. And you have the flexibility, like this article mentioned, to go out. You can fill in those pieces of the puzzle with different veteran pieces each year until you find the right solution, until you find the right fit next to this young core, because they can continue to prioritize guys like Ron Holland. I haven't even mentioned Ron Holland and Isaiah Stewart and Cade and Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren and Asar Thompson. Those 6 players right there are kind of the pieces of your future, and they're all under 24 years old. So again, very weird list. Very weird to have some of these teams like the Heat and I guess the Celtics. I mean, still, the Celtics are another team where your star players are reaching their 30s right now, and the window to win championships is in the next 3 years. Obviously, that's the criteria for the list, but they're going to be on a significant decrease, especially with what does Jason Tatum look like coming off of an Achilles tear? Again, the Pacers, what does Tyrese Halliburton look like coming off of an Achilles tear? You've got LeBron James on the Lakers, who's close to retirement. He's definitely, his best playing days are behind him. They're not going to be a championship contender this year. The Clippers, they're solid on paper, but what does James Harden in year 36 look like? And can Kawhi Leonard stay healthy? And the Warriors have Jimmy Butler and Stephen Curry, who are both on the ends of their careers. So it's pretty interesting that they have the Pistons this low. But let me know in the comments down below, do you think over the next 3 years the Pistons will be the 18th best team in the NBA, or do you agree with me and think they should be much closer to the 10 to 12 range? But moving on, next topic. Bleacher Report predicted their top 5 MVP candidates in 5 years. And I know I just kind of went off on ESPN, but I'm going to shout out Bleacher Report for this article. This is Greg Swartz. He does a great job. So if you haven't checked out any of his stuff, you definitely should. This is a great article. He just listed, obviously, the top 5 just most likely MVP candidates over the next 5 years. Like I mentioned, with guys like, Giannis and Steph Curry and Nikola Jokic and LeBron and some of these, very, very significant players in the NBA over the last 10, 15, 20, 25 years even. They're going to be gone. They're going to be done. I mean, the best playing days are behind them. So there's going to be a new era of young NBA talent that comes in to kind of take over for those guys. And they have Evan Mobley at 5. They have Paolo Banchero at 4. They have Cade Cunningham at 3. Then they have Anthony Edwards at 2. And, of course, Victor Wembanyama at 1. The golden boy in the NBA. Of course, they're going to put Victor Wembanyama at 1. We won't get into too much of just who I think, if I think Cade's can be ahead of Ant and Wemby, but just the overall fact that they have Cade as the number 3 MVP candidate for the next 5 years, or in 5 years and going into the future, is really encouraging. And for fans of the Pistons and for people like myself, this isn't a surprise at all. He's an unbelievable player. I think he's going to be a perennial All-NBA type player. I think that he is going to lead this team to hopefully some Eastern Conference Championship appearances and eventual NBA Finals appearances and championships. He's that type of player. He's generational. He's one of the best point guards in the NBA already heading into year 5. I'd say only SGA and Luka Doncic are clearly above him. I mean, you could talk about Jalen Brunson and Steph Curry, but what Cade brings to the floor as a ball handler and his ability to go get a bucket, he's just an unbelievable player. And it's really, really cool to see that big media publications like Bleacher Report are recognizing that. And it's nice that we have a guy who is going to be a superstar in this league. I don't think that there's anybody in the NBA media or the NBA community that can look you in the eye and say Cade is not going to be a superstar, if not already a superstar. So very, very excited just to see what his future looks like. I hope that he is able to be an MVP candidate. I think he could be even as soon as this year. He was 7th in MVP voting last year in year 4. It was his first really full year in the Pistons organization, playing significant minutes every single game, trying to win games. In the past, it was a slog at the end of the year. It wasn't even worth it to have him out there, but playing significant minutes through the end of April and into the playoffs was very fun to see. And I expect that to continue as the team grows and as he grows as a player. And obviously the front office is clearly going to prioritize developing and surrounding Cade with players that can maximize his skill set. So he could very well be an MVP candidate in the near future. But let me know in the comments if you think Cade can be a potential MVP in the future or in the next 5 years, or just where you see him stacking up with the young talent around the NBA. And then last topic before we end the show here, I just wanted to talk about Tobias Harris, giving back to the community. He's just such a great dude. He partnered with the Michigan State Housing Development Authority, and I'll just read I believe it was the Alpena News. Yeah, the Alpena News put out an article, and I'll just read a quick blurb from it. So they write, the Michigan State Housing Development Authority is teaming up with Detroit Pistons forward Tobias Harris homeownership initiative on a new shared appreciation mortgage pilot with Guide Mortgage and Homium. The partnerships could make homeownership more accessible to Detroiters through a partnership between private capital and state government. The program is being championed by Detroit Pistons basketball veteran Tobias Harris. The mortgage product will provide qualified borrowers with up to 40% of a home's purchase price in down payment assistance without adding any monthly debt. This structure allows borrowers, man, that is a hard word, sorry about that, to secure a comforting first mortgage without the need for mortgage insurance, resulting in a lower monthly payment. Instead of a monthly repayment upon sale or refinance, the borrower repays the initial down payment assistance plus a share of the market appreciation. And I just love this from Tobias Harris. We've talked about how he embraces the city and how he just loves Detroit. He decided to come back even when they were at the lowest of the lows two off seasons ago. And he still came back and he gave the Pistons their all last year, was a huge part in their resurgence in the Eastern Conference, a huge part of their playoffs. And I know he's on an expiring contract, and it'd be great to use him in a trade package because he is making $26 million. It would help match up contracts. But if the Pistons don't end up moving him at the deadline, I'd love to see him brought back on a much smaller contract, obviously, maybe even a veteran minimum, so he can just play out his career in a Pistons uniform. I mean, his game is built to last a long time, and I still think he can provide just solid minutes as a bench piece over the next few years. I don't want him to be a starter. I don't want him to be a guy that you rely on to pay 25 minutes a night, but somebody that could come in and just be a good veteran presence in the locker room and throughout the rest of his career. So just love what he's doing in the community. It just says a lot about a guy who he's definitely got some flack. I mean, people have talked down on Tobias Harris in the Pistons community for a long time. And I know that doesn't go unnoticed by him, but at the end of the day, he loves the city, he embraces it, loves the people, loves the culture, and it's really just cool to see him giving back to the community. So shout out Tobias Harris, and nothing in terms of basketball news with this topic, but just another example of why Tobias is just a stand-up, good dude, and it's really cool to see him continue to play at a high level this late in his career, and just doing the things that he's doing off the court as well. I don't know why I said field. I meant court. But just let me know your guys' just favorite Tobias Harris memories, and just, what your thoughts are on his future for this team going forward. If you'd like to see him brought back on a minimum contract next offseason if they don't end up moving him at the deadline. But that's all I've got for you guys today on a Friday edition of Pistons Daily. As always, like, subscribe, comment, turn on post notifications, and follow me on Twitter at Kyle Garrison too. Also head over to Spotify, leave a 5-star review and a follow there if you can. Once again, thank you all so much for tuning in every single day. With that being said, that is going to do it here for episode 64 of Pistons Daily, and I will catch you all next time.